We have our reviews, and right now we're exposing the email of the user who has written that review, when instead we should be exposing the first name and last name. So what we need to do is add the first name, last name columns to our user table, our user model. So what we want to do is generate a migration, Rails tree migration, add first, last name to user. Now when we go into our file here, our application, add first name, last name to user, add column to users of first name, it's a string. And then we'll do that for last name as well. Save it. Do rakedb migrate. And now when we go into our schema, just to make sure that it all worked, we should see our first name, last name columns right here. So good. Now what we need to do is go into our application controller. And this is something that is specific to devise, the devise gem. So I'll explain it after we do it for a bit. Before action, add parameters to user if devise controller. And we're going to define this add parameters to user method right here. And the reason we have to do it this way is because we don't have a user controller. Our user model was created by devise. So what we would normally do for just about anything else is, for example, our restaurants controller, we have the parameters down here, and we could just add first name to it, and then that would be adding the first name column as a parameter to our restaurants model, our restaurants controller. But we can't do that because we don't have a user controller. Our user model was created by devise, so I'm not going to save that. So this is what we have to do in order to pass in the first name and last name parameters into the devise controller. So devise parameter sanitizer for sign up. So when somebody signs up, pass in the first name. We also want to pass in the last name. Copy all of these, and then when somebody updates their account update, you can pass in the first name and last name as well. So essentially what this is doing is it goes through before the action, take a look at this. If it's a devise controller, then pass in the username, pass in the first name and last name as parameters to the devise controller. Now when we go into how to create a new user, or creating a new user, signing up, f.label first name, f.text field first name. You can copy these, change it to last name. Now we go to our application. If we sign up here, we now have, let's do John, example.com. First name, last name field. And now this person is created and has a first name and last name. So what we want to do here is change this email to be the first name and last name. So first of all, let me just write a review. Bad food. John at example. And so what we need to do is go into our restaurant show page and find this right here. And instead of saying email, say first name, review.user.last name. And now when we go to our application and do a refresh, Now, Bob didn't have a first name or last name. We have John Green right here. What we could do, we'll see, go to our Rails console and just say a equals user dot find or name equals, I believe it's like that. Nope. User dot find, say all. So the first one's a user, a equals user. Oh, that's not it either. User dot find the first one. There you go. So a equals user dot find the first user. Now a dot update for name. First name is Bob. Last name is Johnson, we'll say. Yeah, I don't think you need to save it. Do a refresh. There you go. So we had to, in the Rails console, what we just basically did was manually added the Bob's first name and last name to his model, because when we first initially created him, we didn't have a first name last name column. So there you have it. We have Bob Johnson here and then John Green. So we were able to change this from their email to now their first name and last name. So we added those columns in our users table, made sure that they were added, went into our application controller, and again, this is very specific to the devise, because devise was the thing that was creating our user model. Changed the registration to first name, last name, and then the show. And actually, we can just take this and for the, I believe, new registration, we define the update. Show device sessions passwords edit. So if we do the edit registration, we can do the same thing here. And add in those values so that when they go edit their profile, they can just edit their first name and last name as well. Alright, so we've added a first name, last name columns to our user table, and we've given people the ability to put in their first name and last name when they sign up. So I think that's a good stopping point for getting the reviews working how we want it to work.